In the early 2000s, in the vibrant city of Cebu, a young girl named Morissette Amon stood nervously on a small wooden stage in her school auditorium. The microphone in her hands looked far too big for her small frame, but the moment she began to sing, everything else disappeared. Her voice, clear, rich, and full of emotion, filled the room, echoing through every corner of the hall. The audience, made up of her teachers, classmates, and proud parents, fell silent, captivated by the sound that seemed to come from a place far beyond her years. When the final note faded, there was a moment of stillness before thunderous applause broke out. Morissette's mother rushed to her side, tears glistening in her eyes. She embraced her daughter tightly and whispered, "Always sing from your heart, Anak. That's where your wings are." It was a simple message, but one that would shape Morissette's life forever. As she smiled shyly and looked out at the crowd, she couldn't fully understand the meaning of her mother's words. Yet, deep inside, she felt something awaken, a quiet spark, a sense of destiny. What she didn't realize was that this small moment, on this simple stage, was the beginning of a remarkable journey. One day, that little girl with the big voice would soar beyond her hometown, across the islands of the Philippines, and eventually around the world. But for now, she was just Morissette, the little girl who sang with her heart. In 2010, a teenage Morissette stepped off a crowded bus in the heart of Manila, her eyes wide with both fear and excitement. She had left behind the familiar warmth of Cebu to chase a dream that many had called impossible. The city was loud, fast, and unforgiving, but Morissette was determined. She auditioned for the national singing competition, Star Factor, her heart pounding as she stood before the judges. When the results came and her name wasn't called as the winner, she felt a sting of disappointment, but only for a moment. Instead of giving up, she decided that this was just the beginning. She started performing anywhere she could, small gigs, mall shows, and even smoky bars where few paid attention to the singer on stage. Each night, she sang her heart out, her voice becoming stronger, her emotions deeper. The rejection she once feared now fueled her passion. She learned to fight for every note, every opportunity, every dream. Manila wasn't easy, but it became her training ground. Through the noise, the crowds, and the loneliness, Morissette found herself. She realized that success wasn't about instant fame, it was about persistence, faith, and love for the craft. Every song she sang was a promise to herself, that one day, her voice would be heard by the world. She didn't know how or when, but she believed it. And in that belief, a phoenix quietly began to rise. In 2013, Morissette walked onto the brightly lit stage of The Voice of the Philippines. The studio lights were blinding, and her hands trembled as she gripped the microphone. She had dreamed of this moment for years, a chance to show the world what she was capable of. The crowd hushed, and the music began. With the first note of Love on Top by Beyoncé, her nerves melted away. Her voice soared effortlessly, smooth yet powerful, every run filled with confidence and soul. One by one, the judges' chairs turned, their faces lighting up with surprise and admiration. Among them was Sarah Geronimo, one of the Philippines' most beloved singers, who smiled proudly and said, "You have something very special." For Morissette, that single moment felt like a victory greater than any trophy. Though she didn't win the competition, she had earned something more valuable, recognition and respect. People across the country began to take notice of the young girl from Cebu with a voice that could rival the world's best. Offers for performances started coming in, and her name began to circulate in the music industry. When she walked off the stage that night, she felt changed. For the first time, she believed she belonged among the greats. Morissette Amon, once just a small-town dreamer, had taken her first true step toward becoming a national sensation. The world had finally begun to hear the voice that would soon define Asia's phoenix. Between 2015 and 2018, Morissette Amon's career exploded beyond the borders of the Philippines. What started as small performances soon turned into concerts, television appearances, and international recognition. Her song, Akin Ka Na Lang, became a massive hit, reaching millions of views online. But it was her breathtaking performance of Secret Love Song on the Wish 107.5 bus that changed everything. Standing inside that glass-covered studio, she delivered every note with precision and emotion, her voice rising higher and stronger with each chorus. The video went viral, and suddenly, Morissette wasn't just a local artist, she was being called Asia's Phoenix. Fans from across the world began to admire her incredible control, her whistle notes, and her heartfelt performances. She toured around Asia, performing for thousands who sang along to her songs even if they didn't speak her language. Each show reminded her of how far she had come from that little school stage in Cebu. But fame didn't change her. Behind every spotlight moment, Morissette remained humble and grounded, always thanking her family, her faith, and her fans, the Moyanatics, for lifting her up. "Every time I sing, I remember where I came from," she once said during an interview. "And I soar because you believed in me." Her rise wasn't just about talent, it was about resilience, grace, and the courage to keep shining even when the world tried to dim her light. The Phoenix had truly taken flight. As the lights dimmed in a packed concert hall in the 2020s, a hush fell over the audience. The stage glowed softly, and then Morissette Amon appeared, radiant, confident, and full of grace. The crowd erupted in cheers, chanting her name, but she simply smiled, closed her eyes, and took a deep breath. The first notes of her song filled the air, tender and emotional, before rising into a powerful climax that sent chills through the room. Every lyric carried the weight of her journey, the struggles, the triumphs, and the dreams that had carried her from a little girl in Cebu to one of Asia's most celebrated voices. In that moment, she wasn't just performing, she was telling her story through song. The audience, moved to tears, felt every emotion she poured out. When the final note lingered in the air, the entire hall rose to their feet, giving her a standing ovation that seemed endless. Morissette looked out at the sea of faces and smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. She had found her wings, just as her mother had promised years ago. The little girl who once sang on a school stage had become Asia's Phoenix, a symbol of hope, perseverance, and passion. As she bowed to her fans, she whispered to herself, "Dreams don't die. They rise, just like the phoenix." The lights dimmed, but her voice remained, echoing through hearts long after the final song had ended.